In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at a scenario where Ukraine formed an empire. So Ukraine is like, I wouldn't say it's a regional power, but it's been for a lot, especially the Russian war. But Ukraine will be forming an empire in 2023, and just as promised, I will be doing countries, and I've added some more to. Oh, for God's sake, this map. How to get a new map? Because the other map I can get the photo of it up. As promised, I will be doing Canada. I think I said Canada. Well, why is it moving? Stop. Go back to where you went. I will be doing Brazil, Egypt. I think I said Egypt. I don't know if I said Pakistan. I'll be doing Pakistan as well, because I've just added that now. Romania will be have an empire soon. China, Turkey, and the UK. So, there you go. And it's Ukraine's turn. So, throughout the entire video, Ukraine will be red. No, NATO, the UN, and none of that would exist. Ukraine will be buffed. And the Ukrainian-Russian war will not be happening, because that would be unfair for Ukraine. Otherwise, we would have to include NATO. But then it wouldn't, you know, we have to ignore the Russian-Ukrainian war. So, Ukraine forming an empire might be harder than you think. Because, Belarus is suicide. There's no chance, as well as Poland. Attacking Belarus would immediately activate Russia. Same with attacking Poland. Ukraine looks at its neighbours. They look at Hungary and Slovakia. But Ukraine realises that the border is so short with those two that it's not going to work. So Ukraine decides to try and make a deal with Romania to say, I will invade Moldova, but you will not get involved. So Romania kind of has to accept it, because in this timeline, Ukraine is extremely powerful. But anyway, Ukraine declares war on Moldova, and Moldova's it's not that strong of a country. I wouldn't say it's the weakest country in the world. It's a pretty medium country for military. But Ukraine is going to see absolute ease pushing to this country, as Moldova is not as strong as Ukraine is right now. So we have Ukraine just pushing into Moldova, so let's take a look at this peace treaty. And if it's not obvious, Ukraine just fully annexed Moldova. So not a very big gain, but for Ukraine this is progress towards the empire. Now Ukraine is in a bit of a sticky situation. They can't really expand anywhere. Again, they could attack Hungary and Slovakia, but that would be a pain. And just to make it even worse, there's mountains in this region, as well as around here, and basically Slovakia is a mountain. So Ukraine has to think outside the box here. The weakest neighbour obviously is Slovakia, but that would be a bit of a pain to invade. So Ukraine decides to make a peace treaty and invade Romania. And my dog's going for poop. That always happens when I'm doing this. So Ukraine decides to invade Romania, and obviously the Romanian government is going to feel extremely backstabbed, because they thought them allowing Ukraine to invade Moldova would stop them from getting invaded, but it just shown that Ukraine is not going to be taking any of that. So Ukrainian troops immediately smash right into Romania. They invade as much of the land they can. They take over this part of Romania, whatever that's called, the coast, and they begin to seep into the more important areas of Romania. Romania is not going to be able to beat Ukraine. Ukraine's invading Transylvania, which is just a mountain. So they kind of stop and realise, wait, we shouldn't even be pushing there. So we have Ukraine pushing out and encircling Bucharest, which is relatively easy to capture. They push and capture some more major cities. They capture... forgot the name of it. Never mind. But after capturing that city, we just have to surrender Romania. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. So the peace treaty, Ukraine did a bit of a gamble here and decides to fully annex Romania, which gives them a massive buff, because Romania's a pretty powerful country in real life. Well, not that strong, but you know. So Ukraine is now fully annexed Romania, and Ukraine will now have the gateway into the Balkans, which, if it isn't obvious, they even wanted to do this for a while. They declare war on Hungary to get more, no, why are they doing this? They invade Hungary. Now, in real life, Poland will probably get involved, but Poland decides that that's not worth it right now. And Ukraine decides to take another big risk because they invade Slovakia, if it isn't obvious, Ukraine's gonna be able to steamroll these two countries. Hungary would put up a really weak defense, but doesn't matter. Also, what I said about Slovakia being Ukraine's weakest state, but that's why Belarus. So Hungary's gonna lose Budapest like right away, and they just kind of capitulate. And I'm not gonna be bothering to colour in, why is it turning yellow? I've never seen that happen. Ukraine's just gonna invade up into Slovakia, who basically surrenders right as Bratislav. So I could take a look at this peace treaty. So the peace treaty, Ukraine's going for full annexations here. Ukraine isn't even thinking about making any puppets, because they really just want land. So Ukraine decides to look at the Balkans and say, you know what, we're going to make some purchases of land, because Ukraine really doesn't want to have to deal with this mess of the Balkans. Ukraine is smart, and they know invading the Balkans will really mess up their stability. So you have Ukraine buying Vojvodina from... That is a thick pen. We have them buying Vojvodina from Serbia, which does cost a lot of land. What? It costs a lot of money. As Vojvodina is a pretty important area to Serbia, because Belgrade's right there. But they did sign a treaty saying they can't invade Serbia. We also have them buying this piece of land from Bulgaria for some weird reason. And this costed probably even more than Vojvodina, because this is the coast of Bulgaria. They only have this area now. So Ukraine buys these pieces of land. And they also try to get land out of Croatia, which Croatia decided to accept, because it wasn't that much. But they did nearly lose the grab, so they were kind of off about it. This wasn't a peace treaty, by the way. This wasn't buying land, this was forced, because Ukraine knew that Croatia wouldn't just give up the land. So they had to kind of force it and say, we're going to invade you if you don't give it. Which obviously wasn't good for Ukraine's country, because that was forcing somebody to give them land. And Ukraine started a peace treaty with all these countries, saying we won't invade you. And they said no more further plans. We have no further plans to attack into the Balkans, which all these countries are relieved by. These borders of Serbia look ugly. So Ukraine just finished there, but Ukraine decides that they're not done yet because they still want more land. But they're kind of in a bit of a pickle right now. Attacking Poland would still be a pain. So Ukraine decided to look at Czechia and Austria. Austria, they realised that wouldn't be a smart idea, because attacking Austria would basically activate Germany to join the war, and I would guarantee Poland would probably join as well to protect themselves. So we have Ukraine declaring war on Czechia to get some more land, but to Ukraine's surprise, we have Poland join this war. Now Ukraine didn't expect Ukraine didn't expect Poland to even join this war in the first place. Well, they did. They had troops lined up there, but this can be a bit of a surprise. So as Ukrainian troops enter into Czechia and literally just slap the country, they capture half the country on Prague within the first few days. We have Poland being able to make some very small gains into Ukrainian mainland. This is mostly because Ukraine was more worried about these areas, was not really worried about these areas because they didn't expect Poland to join. So we have Poland being able to make this amount of gains, while on the other side of things, Czechia just surrendered to Ukraine. And that's not good for Poland, because they have a weak front line right here. They didn't expect Czechia to fall that quick, so we have Ukrainians immediately exiting out into the country, as their goal is to basically shoot up and capture Warsaw as quick as possible, which is going well at first, but then it doesn't because the Polish military stopped them somehow, but they did lose a bunch of land. So now we have Ukraine focusing most of its army on this front line of Germany, border of Germany, and they capture all of it somehow. But on the other side here, it's not looking too good for Ukraine, as they're somehow losing very rapidly. Poland was able to make a humongous counter-offensive which broke a front line, and Ukraine lost a lot of land from it. But finally Ukraine decides that it's probably time to get mobilised, and this area gets pushed back like very quickly. Poland decides that it's not very worth it to hold this front as they retreat all the troops from it, and mainly focus on trying to protect the mainland, which is going a bit horrible, and that somehow retreating all the troops led to the capturing of Warsaw, which is basically going to lead to Poland's surrender. Poland just decided that this war is going to go nowhere, and if they continue, this is going to get boring. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. So at this point, Ukraine is probably, well, obviously the biggest country in Europe now, but Ukraine is probably the second strong. No, I would say they're probably the third strongest. Definitely ahead of everyone else, especially France. But I wouldn't say they're as strong as, like, you know, countries such as the UK or Russia. But Ukraine wants to invade Russia now, which, like, is that going to go well? Ukraine decides to mobilise a bunch of army members, and they also somehow managed to get Finland and Turkey's trust, as well as Georgia's trust, to invade Russia. Now, this is preparing, and also Ukraine is preparing for the invasion of Belarus. So, after, what I would say, probably like years and years after the Polish-Ukrainian war, we have Ukraine, Turkey, Georgia. Hang on, I should probably get this out. We have Turkey, Georgia. Oh my god, I hate this. Good thing I got a second try. And Finland, all getting together. Now, are you serious? Oh my god. Now, obviously, Russia's kind of confused, like, what's going on, why are these four aligned? But when it comes clear what Ukraine's plan is, it's a bit too late, as Ukraine, Finland, Georgia, and Turkey declare war on Russia at once. Now, this is going to be Ukraine's toughest war. And also, in the meanwhile, they decide to begin their invasion of Belarus, which, I don't know why they decided to have to justify a war against Belarus. They could have easily just invaded. They could have easily just had Belarus join the war on Russia's side. Now, obviously, Russia is not ready for this. Finland's reserves are all in this war. Turkey has mobilized another 500,000. Ukraine has 3 million troops, and Georgia has only 10,000. So, yeah. Georgia's not a very good country when it comes to war. But Turkey was ready in Georgia, and Ukraine was ready, so immediately Ukrainian troops just completely bombard every troop and Russian troop that was in Belarus. Minsk is captured within the first few days, and Belarus is just like completely slapped in the face by Ukraine. Finland's 1 million troops are sent out into Russia, but Finland is able to capture St. Petersburg, which the world is surprised by. And we have Finland managing to completely cut off the Kolyma Peninsula from Russia, which is gonna easily fall to Finland. Now, Russia at this point is like, okay, this is honestly a bit odd. Ukraine decides to begin an invasion from the Donbass area. Donbass, that sounds weird to say. So they begin an invasion, but surprising to their surprise, this is going to fail, as they thought it would go better. But on the other side, this front over here is doing amazing. The front of Belarus, Russia had like no troops there. Yes, they probably would, but they didn't have any for some reason, as they didn't expect Ukraine to invade them. Ukrainian troops now go over from the Crimean Bridge to connect up with this front, which again, this area is a very bloody war. The Turkish troops immediately start to push out into the mountains, which is going to be a bit of a struggle, but we have them bombarding this coast over here, which retreats some Russian troops. They completely exit out and capture this part, and capture a good part of this Russia until they can't. Oh wait, Russia seems to be focusing only on this land. So yeah, Russia's completely getting slapped, they can't even push back. The Russian military is facing like 5 million troops, so like this is even worse than the German invasion. Finland connects down with Ukraine, as Finland's probably losing a lot of troops out here, because this is some really heavy defended land, but Finland's experienced, so I don't think it really matters. We have them all exiting out from Belarus to try and capture a bunch of land, and Russia is now going to be able to push back. So Finland is completely pushed back, not to St. Petersburg though, And Russia has a humongous success pushing back Ukraine in this area. Ukraine is pushed back all this way, but Russia does try to attempt to take back parts of Belarus, which fail. And that's it for the winter. So immediately Russia's kicked out of Belarus again, and the front line is just kind of re-established. St. Petersburg is kicked back a far way away from Russia. At this point, Russia's kind of wondering, well then, this is going failed, isn't it? I didn't mean to click that. We have about 2 million Ukrainian troops, as they have mobilized another million now throughout the winter, pushing out and being able to cut this off, which cost them about 500,000 troops, because how many troops there are protecting this area. But this makes about 100,000 Russian troops surrender, as this was Russia's most defended area. So Russia said, well then, this is not good, as their main defense is now across this border, as they just lost this area. But this area has the entire Russian military now. So we have a very slow and bloody push going through this area. But it is going well, and the world is shocked by how well these three powers are doing this. We have Ukraine making well, all their troops, not all of them, like I'd say half, which is 4 million. So that's 4 million, 2 million. Another 2 million troops are going to attempt the toughest push ever, as they push out and try to capture Moscow. This goes well at first, but remember, Moscow is heavily defended. So we have about only 100,000 Ukrainian losses until they get to Moscow, and the Battle of Moscow is now beginning. So immediately Ukrainian troops and Turkish troops start to flood up here, as they do it pretty successfully, staying away from Kazakhstan, because that's kind of just winter there. Finland decides to push a little bit more. Finland decides pushing a little bit more, but decides that invading the Arctic is probably not any other priority, as this war is probably near its end. So we have Turkish and Georgian troops beginning the first encirclement of Moscow, and Ukrainian and Finnish troops begin the second part of the encirclement. Now Russia is trying their best to hold this off, but it's not enough, as this is like 3 million troops we're talking about. This is all of Finland's army. So we have these armies being pushed down to Moscow, which this is obviously the bloodiest part of this entire war. About the entire Russian military is in Moscow, but after about a whole 2 months of fighting, we have eventually every troop there surrendering. Ouch, said Russia, as Ukraine is now pushing up through here, but then they realise that's not a good idea. And we have Russia surrendering. Now, Russia's massive, but I'm gonna say it, I don't need to continue on. They'll just invade the rest of it. There's no need. So Russia's finally capitulated, and the world is impressed by Ukraine, who carried that war, as well as Turkey and Finland. Georgia's kind of the other one now. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. So Ukraine, in this peace treaty, in this peace treaty, Georgia was supposed to get land. Just ignore that. I'm bored. I'm lazy. Finland is given all of the Konine Plains, as well as a little bit of St. Petersburg. Russia was allowed to keep St. Petersburg, but they would have to allow Finnish troops to enter. About Russia, they're very crippled. Ukraine fully annexes Belarus and a big chunk of Russia, and Turkey's left to cry in the corner because all they get is reparations. So Ukraine has now formed an empire, Ukraine has now formed its empire in 2023, and this is a big empire, probably one of my biggest, if I would say. So obviously India was the biggest, then Chad and Argentina, but this is definitely one of my biggest empires yet, and we'll probably say like that until I do Canada and China and Turkey. But Ukraine's formed an empire. Now, I'm trying to get as many empire videos as out, because these are the only things I can see my channel's living on. I don't want to kill the series, but I enjoy making them a lot. So, next country that will be getting an empire is Turkey. And then I'm doing China. I'm not saying whatever countries I'm doing next, because I have no idea which ones I'll be doing next. So Ukraine Swans Empire. I hope you enjoyed the series. I'll see you next one. Bye.